Hello everyone, my name is Rana and today I'll be talking about important topics in each chapter. For example, in the designing the user interface chapter, I'll be talking about user interface, user experience, and storyboard. In the designing the database chapter, I'll be talking about class database, primary key and foreign key, and normalization. And lastly, in the chapter of approaches to system development, I'll be talking about Gantt chart and incremental model. User interface design is the process designers use to build interfaces in software or computerized devices, focusing on looks or style. Designers aim to create interfaces which users find easy to use and pleasurable. User interface design refers to graphical user interface and other forms. I chose the example of a user interface for a desktop lab control panel, where a user can interact with the system. User experience design is the process design teams use to create products that provide meaningful and relevant experience to users. This involves the design of the entire process of acquiring and integrating the product, including aspects of branding, design, usability, and function. For example, the example here that I used is an app for retro movie, where a user can share movies from all genres and can share movies with their families and friends, can log in, sign up, and recover their password in case they forgot it. Moving to storyboard, a storyboard is a graphic organizer that consists of illustrations or images displayed in sequence for the purpose of pre-visualizing a motion picture animation, motion graphic, or interactive media sequence. For example, this is an example of electricity sensor. In the playback screen, a user can press to activate the electrical alarm. In the main screen, in this button, he can press to cancel the activation of the alarm. Here in this button, he can click to go to setting. In the ringtone screen, he can select the tone that he wants or she wants to make when the power comes. In the evaluation screen, a customer or user can type their opinion on the application and choose rating and location. And for messages screen, a user can add the numbers and type the message they want the application to send when the power comes. A class database. So a database is a collection of information that is organized so that it can be easily accessed, managed, and updated. Computer database typically contain aggregation of data records or files containing information about sales transaction or interaction with specific customers. An example here, a fuel management wrapper. So we summarize the relations between the classes as follows. A fuel element is assigned to beginning of each fuel is assigned to beginning of each fuel path. Each depletion node is an element contains a material. Additionally, a location is specified for each cycle in the fuel path. These associations are summarized in VEC. We note an important distinction between the class used in the graphical user interface and those used for the fuel management wrapper. When the burn-up run is performed using the fuel management wrapper, every depletion node of each fuel element has a unique material such that even fuel path that have the same fuel element are still defined by distinct materials. Thus, there is no need for a separate element class in the data model for the fuel management wrapper. Moving to primary key and foreign key, here's a comparison between the primary key and foreign key. So a primary key is uniquely identified, is used and uniquely identify a record in the table, where a foreign key is a field in the table that is primary key in another table. A primary key cannot accept null values, where a foreign key can accept them. By default, a primary key is clustered index, and data in the database table is physically organized in the sequence of clustered index, where foreign key do not automatically create an index, clustered or non-clustered. You can manually create an index or foreign key. And lastly, we can have only one primary key in a table. And in foreign key, we can have more than one foreign key in a table. An example, in the diagram below, look at the customer table. The column customer agent code is a foreign key since it is related to agent. Agent code, this column, agent code, is the primary key of the agent table. A second normal form, a relation is in second normal form if it is in the first normal form, and every non-key attribute is fully functionally dependent on the primary key. An example is a university using the following relation. A student has ID, student name, ID, professor, professor name, and grade. The attributes will be student ID, professor ID are the identification keys. All attributes are single valued in first normal form. The following function dependency exists, where the attribute professor name is functionally dependent on attribute professor ID. The attribute student name is functionally dependent on the student ID, and the attribute grade is fully functional dependent on student ID and professor ID. The table in this example is in the first normal form. Since all attributes are single valued, but it is not yet in second normal form. If student 1 leaves the university and the table is deleted, then we lose all information about Professor Shemt. Since the attribute is fully here, Professor Shemt. Since this attribute is fully functional dependent on the primary key, student ID. So to solve this problem, we must create a new table, professor, with the attribute professor, the name, and the key professor ID. The third table, grade, is necessarily for combining the two relations, student and professor, and to manage the grades. Besides, the grade, it contains only the two IDs of the student and the professor. If now a student is deleted, we do not lose the information about the professor. Moving to Gantt chart, a Gantt chart provides the illustration of a schedule that helps to plan, coordinate, and track specific tasks in a project. It usually consists of two parts: the project task on the left and the time allocation for each task on the right. Gantt charts are helpful in many aspects, but essentially they can deal with scheduling tasks, understanding critical paths of a project, and planning of resources. So, first we write the name of the project, the company, the start date of the project, and the classification is done weekly. And also the task category, task and subtask are written, and then the start and end date of each task is determined, and the program automatically calculates the number of days and the percentage of completion of the task must be determined, and the number of days that have been worked out and is drawn in gray in the event, in gray in the event that all the task is completed, and in blue in the event of non-completion, and the task category does not have a start and end date because it is the main title of the tasks. Moving to incremental model is a process of software development where requirements are broken down into multiple standalone modules of software development cycle. Incremental development is done in steps from analysis, design, implementation, testing, verification, and maintenance. Thank you for listening.